Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the OJ podcast. Today, I'm interviewing my friend Irina Koroleva, who grew up and lived in Russia and studied psycholinguistics. She actually taught language for a number of years, and I am one of her former students. Not a very good one, but I dropped out from her Russian class, but it was good. She taught me the basics of how to learn. And what I asked her today was to prepare for us a bit of the history of the Russian language, the origin, and how it's developed over the years. So, yeah, welcome, Irina.
Hi,
How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Doing good, good. Just here for a short trip before. You might have seen her husband last episode. They're going back to Hawaii, right? You live over
Oh,
there.
yeah, we do.
So, with Victor, right?
Yes.
And he is actually, ethnically, he's part Ukrainian, right? So you guys are a mixed couple. And so it's interesting that you guys get to share about your heritage as a Russian and his as a Ukrainian and the way language has changed and adapted in that region of the world. So, but before we start there, could you tell us a little bit about how you originated? Where did you come from?
Well, I was born in Siberia, and I was raised, I lived in Siberia for many years. And when I grew up, I moved to St. Petersburg. They call it Nov capital of Russia. It's a extremely beautiful city. It's just magnificent with all this architectural stuff and all that. And from St. Petersburg, I came here to the United States.
Wow. And how do you feel out here? Is it at all comparable? The city of Hemet, the great city of Hemet in San Jacinto?
Well, when I came to this great city of Hemet in California, I couldn't believe it. I saw so many houses that look like garages.
Yeah.
You know, even in Hollywood even also look like garages all over the place. Comparing with St. Petersburg,
Yeah.
I mean, even not St. Petersburg, even Russian cities look more beautiful and kind of rich in architecture than here. And schools, I looked at schools and I asked my husband, are they prisons? And he said, why do you think they are prisons?
They feel like prisons.
I said, why they don't have windows? A good school should have a window. There should be many windows because you need light.
Yeah.
And children should not feel like they are locked.
Right.
They should be able to look around. They should see the beautiful weather outside or whatever. And my husband said, no, they're not prisons, they're schools. And then
They're not prisons, they're schools.
and when he looked in
sad.
internet, and what is interesting that he found out that the best schools that are in Massachusetts, they all have the buildings like we have in Russia, with big windows.
Yeah.
They have a lot of light.
Right.
And here you go.
Yeah.
So I was in that kind of school.
Yeah.
And I would say that education system is very different from what we have here in the United States. And I can compare it because I was an educator. I have my college degree, master degree, and PhD in all different subjects.
Yeah.
Like I have a college degree in teaching as a elementary school teacher. Then master degree in languages. I'm interpreter and translator into languages, English and German. And then I have PhD in psycholinguistics, actually in linguistics, but I did a project in psycholinguistics.
Wow. So yeah, tell us about that. Tell us about languages and how they developed in your region. Like,
Okay.
what? Where did it come from? I know it started with a man named Cyril, right, and his brother, right?
No.
At the written language.
Written language,
yeah.
yes.
But before that.
But before that,
Yeah.
So before that, archaeologists and linguists, they came to conclusion that people that live on the territory, like modern territory,
Yeah.
they come in 400 BC. That's how long time ago it happened. Then what we actually have in written form is about people, Scandinavian people, who came from the northern Baltic Seas territory, and they came to Russia, what is now Russia, but there was no Russia there. They
Right.
just moved, and it was in 5th century. And then the explanation why they moved is because the 5th century is considered to be the coldest century out of 2,000 years.
And 5th century, for those who are ignorant like me, is that 600 years before Christ or 400 years before Christ? 5th century? Because it's BC, right?
No, we are talking about AC now.
Okay, AD, after his death. Okay.
AD, sorry.
So 500 years after Jesus died, there is this ice age or something like that, huh? Like a cold spell?
I don't think
Or,
so.
no.
It's just 5th century.
Okay, 5th century. But this is when these people fled. You said there was like a cold.
They fled. They actually the thing is that the water, the level of water was so high that there was floods all over the place. The fields were flooding, everything. It was like marshland was growing, and it was like impossible to live in that place. And people got on their boats. Okay, and they started to move on the boat.
Yeah.
Just to get out of there.
Right.
Okay. And that was the beginning, how people came from these places. Again, we can't say they were Scandinavian. I don't think there was Scandinavia either.
Right.
They were just people.
Yeah.
People living.
Yeah, but seafaring people, huh?
Yes.
They were capable of navigating the...
They were capable of navigating, and they actually, I was looking on internet, looking for something like resemble the first boats, and that is a picture of the first boat. And then we come to that word Russia. It's actually not even Russia. It is Rus.
Rus.
And this word Rus, it came, the origination of the word Rus is from, it means Osman, or a trip on rowboats, from that Scandinavian language. Because they were on those boats.
Wow.
They had a trip. And this word, it transformed through Finnish word, Rutsi, into ancient Russian word Rus.
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 Wow. Yeah.
So, and then the next thing, if you look at the map and you compare Eastern European plain, or they call it a Russian plain, you can also look what it was when they came, where they lived, and what it is now.
Huh.
Okay, you can see it also, and you can have the imagination how it all looked like back to that time.
And did they move kind of from west to east then?
They actually were moving we are talking about north. Because it is Baltic Sea, Northern Sea, so they come from up there.
Okay,
up there.
So people
that's
from the
how
north,
it all started.
And then they slowly they made their way down then.
Exactly. And perhaps they were moving down because it was warmer.
Yeah, that's why I would move down.
Yes. So, and now we are talking about 5th to 8th century. And actually, we do not have much things about history in these centuries.
Okay.
And the reason to that is no written language.
Yes.
Okay.
We were just talking about this
actually
say? With another of my friends, Deborah. She's a linguist, and she was talking about that, how when you don't have a written language, it's very difficult to keep track of your history.
Yes.
So at that point, it just becomes myth and legend.
It becomes myth. It becomes exactly. It's just a legend. It's just talk.
Right.
And what happened later, in 862, there was a guy. His name was Rurik. He was like Viking, Norseman. Maybe better word to say Norseman, Varyak in Russian language, from Scandinavia.
Okay, a Scandinavian Norseman.
He was invited. He was invited to Novgorod.
Okay.
And Novgorod, it is one of the eldest eldest cities in Russia. Novgorod.
And what does Novgorod mean? I know Grad means like city, right?
Well, if you Novgorod,
Novgorod.
that part Nov means Novi, which means new.
Okay,
So-
new. Novgorod.
Novgorod. So, and he came to, he was invited. And he was invited with what purpose? Guess. Never guess. Russia, actually, again, not Russia. We are not talking about Russia, because looking at
Rus.
these maps,
Yeah.
you will realize that it is not what it is now, okay?
Yeah.
That territory where people lived, they lived in tribes.
Okay.
There were many tribes,
Yeah.
okay?
Not unified.
Not unified. And what Rurik did, he unified them. He unified them, and that was the beginning of Russia as a state. Now we are talking about state, right?
So he was kind of like the Kamehameha of the Rus people, right? King Kamehameha,
we had
Hawaiian,
many Kamehamehas
Hawaiian king comes
in
and takes
Russia.
over and unites everybody,
Uh-huh.
right? Well,
Yeah.
he was the first. Rurik,
yeah,
right?
Rurik, and they invited him with that purpose.
Okay.
So it was by that time when we came, why no one actually complained and no one was like, we are against that, because all these people living as tribes, they were
Yeah.
pretty much ethnical. They have one ethnicity already.
Okay.
So, and it was like, I guess, not a big deal to, continue, but just put some system into
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So, I'm not a historian.
Sure.
I'm just trying to make sense out of it, just looking at the language,
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
So,
We can only speak to what we know. Yeah.
yes. So, anyhow, if you look at the map, you will see Moravia. Moravia, that is a place that is now the part of Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Moravia. Why Moravia is so important?
Yeah.
Right? Why? Why I'm talking about
I don't know.
Moravia?
I mean, it's
You
pretty
don't
far
know.
west.
Yes, it is in Czech Republic.
Yeah.
It's Poland, Germany, Czech Republic,
Yeah.
all that, right? But if you also look at the map, you will see that back to that time, Rus looked more like close to these places, close to Black Sea, close to all this.
That's where the first
European
settlements kind of
countries.
developed, huh? Around the
Yes.
Black Sea.
Yes,
Okay.
it's in. By the way, there is etymology of the word Rus from Northern Iranian language too.
Really?
Yes,
So that's a theory of where it could have come from?
yes.
And what is that
One
theory?
of that.
What's their idea?
I did not look because I
Oh.
did not find. Maybe you can find.
Oh, I'll have to find it.
Yeah, you could find.
Yeah. I'll ask my dad.
You ask your dad,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and what happened with this Moravia, why it's so important? You said that you heard about Kirill,
Kirill? Yes.
Kirill, and Methodius, that is Methodi. That's
Okay.
how we pronounce it in
Methodi.
Russian. Methodi, right? And you said that, I heard about that.
Yeah, that's all I know.
That's all you know. Okay. So, how did they come to Russia? And did they come to Russia? No, they didn't. They
Really?
come to Moravia.
Okay.
Why did they come to Moravia in the middle of 9th century? Why? 862, 863, something like that.
Yeah.
Why did they come? Because the Prince of Moravia realized that Moravia is going to be lost as a country and would be a part of Bulgaria or Frank country. And so he kind of was upset about it, and
Right.
he did not want it happen.
Okay.
So if you look at the map, you will see that Moravia was very close to Germany.
Yeah.
And there were German priests in Moravia.
Hmm.
So what that guy, his name was Rostislav. I mean, you can say guy. I'm using this modern
Yeah.
word, right? So Rostislav, what he did, he kicked out German priests out of Moravia,
Huh.
and he sent a request to the Pope in Rome. I want different people who will come here and teach my people to be the priests.
Ah, okay.
We want to grow our own priests.
Right.
Because to the country to be a country,
Yeah.
you had to have a church regulation.
Yeah.
Without church, you're not a country. You're
Right.
not. You can't be a state.
Some
you have
kind
to
of
have
a
church.
moral code. They said this is the law we will unify us with, right?
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But church, that was so there is church, there is language,
Yep.
On top of ethnicity.
Yeah.
And then you can become a state.
Those are all factors in making a
They are
nation.
all factors that make the nation. I remember you had the degree in
Political
in
science and
political
international.
science,
Yeah.
so you know
Yeah.
better.
Well, one of my
what
professors,
makes nation.
Michael Lerma, we took a class called Native Nation Building at NAU, Flagstaff, Arizona. And he said that. He says, you need to have a common language. Usually, looking at Native Nation Building, common language, a common ethnicity, usually, and then usually a common set of beliefs. And those are pretty much like the three main prerequisites to form a nation. And so this man had the foresight to see his nation needed that, and this religion became their core set of beliefs.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and what they did, and in Rome, the Pope, he said, no, I'm not going to send anyone. And then he sent the ambassadors to Byzantium, that is in Russian Byzantium,
Yeah.
and asked the same request.
Right. Which
Give
is
us
is
someone.
this Istanbul then? Is this Turkey now? Istanbul?
Byzantine.
Byzantine Empire? Wow. Okay.
So he sent them there, and he said, give us someone.
Yeah.
And then from Byzantium, they sent Kirill and Methody.
Okay.
So how Kirill and Methody, where did they originate? They were brothers missionaries.
Okay.
And where did they come from? Usually people say that it is Thessaloniki in Greece.
Thessaloniki, yeah.
In Greece.
Okay.
Bulgarian people, if you ask them about Kirill and Methodius, they say, no, it's not Greece. They come from Bulgaria.
Huh.
Okay? So even we have the research that they come from Macedonia. They are Slavs from Macedonia.
Okay.
So it's actually...
Kind of like Alexander the Great. People are like, well, he's actually Macedonian, but yeah, he made the Greek Empire, right? It's like...
Why Greece? Because
Yeah.
they created the alphabet, but even when you look at the alphabet, at the first alphabet that Kirill made, and you look at it, and you will look at it, and you will look at it, and you do not see anything that reminds you
of Greek?
Of Greek. Maybe hardly, but Cyrillic. The second alphabet. That is, yes, they use 24 letters of Greek. But the first alphabet that Kirill actually created to translate liturgical books and to do all that stuff.
Right, Christian ceremonies for their nation. Okay.
He used the name of it is Glagolitic script.
Huh.
And also that Glagolitic script, when you look at it, you will see that in the beginning it was more like round letters that are Bulgarian.
Interesting.
And later they become more angular letters, that is actually
Greek
Khazar.
looking. Hazara.
Yes.
Like Mongol.
Khazar, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They call it Khazar Glagolitic script.
Okay, Khazar.
So, and then... So what happened, Kirill, my understanding is, according to what I read, in what I found out, he did not live long time. He passed away. And then later, much later, there was a student of Methodius, who actually later created Cyrillic, that started to be used more in everywhere. And actually Cyrillic alphabet is the base for 108 languages.
Wow.
108 languages have the base of Cyrillic alphabet. They're not all Slovenian language.
Sure, but
they have that Cyrillic alphabet.
Kind of like Latin has been used to spell English, Spanish,
yes.
Right? Turkish even, So they adopted this language as a way, or this writing system.
Script.
Yeah, this alphabet.
Yes.
This script.
And that had 43 letters, and all letters, they take all letters from Greek alphabet, 24, and 19 letters to denote sounds that are specific for Slavonic language. So both scripts were used in Church Slavonic writing.
Okay.
Glagolitic script
Yeah.
and Cyrillic script, they were used in
Together.
Church Slavonic
At the same
writing.
time. Or-
They have the evidence that in the beginning they used Glagolitic, and then later they started to
switched
use
over.
Cyrillic.
Okay, so kind of like us with Latin, like the Catholic Church began with Latin,
Mm-hmm.
and then when the English people took it, they started writing Bibles in English.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's Muslims that learned Arabic initially, but then some of them are now speaking in Turkish. They might have Qurans in Turkish or Farsi or right other languages.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how it went with Russian. Okay.
Well, I can't say that, but I know that since that time, and we are talking about middle of 9th century,
Yeah.
the next reformation of a Russian language into Russian language that looks more like Russian language now happened in 1710.
That's pretty recent.
So exactly,
Yeah.
so from that time, middle of 9th century to 1710, used Cyrillic, mostly Cyrillic, because Glagolitic, you will look at the script and you will see the big difference. It's like Glagolitic more like hieroglyphic language.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Cyrillic started to look more like what we have right now, and you can also see the difference between them.
Huh.
So what happened with Russia back to that time?
Yeah.
First of all, again, it was not Russia, it was Kievan Rus. Kievan Rus, that was from late 9th century to the middle of 12th century.
Okay.
And you also can see the map, how it looked like with Kievan Rus. So, and what happened in 12th century? Kievan Rus is divided into provinces from middle of 12th century to 1240, that was Mongolian invasion.
Okay.
1240, right?
1240.
In 1240, that's how it looks like, and you can see on this map that actually Russia moved, the territory from Russia moved from more like it was, in the beginning it was more like to the Black Sea close, and now it's like up to the north, okay?
Yeah.
And you can definitely see, Lithuania, you can see Tatar-Mongol place where they lived, okay?
Yeah, where they
So
settled
you
and
can
took over.
definitely see that the country is so small,
Huh.
And what happened to Kiev? Kiev, it was all the time the capital of that Russia, Rus, right?
Okay.
Kiev Rus,
Yeah.
Kievan Rus. Kiev was the capital. What happened to Kievan Rus? In 1326, Kiev became a part of Lithuania.
Okay.
And it was pretty long time when it was a part of Lithuania. And what happened to Kiev in 2040 after Mongolian invasion? They destroyed that city completely, and they say there were only 200 houses left
Wow. Of the entire city.
of the entire city. But they also say that people moved. It seems like they destroyed, but people moved before. But it's again, you can find different sources, historical sources, right?
Yeah, but that's because the Mongols came and invaded, basically.
Yeah,
Took
but
over.
I think why they did that, if you think about it, perhaps they wanted to make a statement that's, because it was the capital,
Yeah.
and they showed them
Who's the boss?
who's the boss.
We took over, yeah.
Right.
We
who
won.
took over. So the next thing, that great thing that happened in Russia, and now you look at the map and you realize that, okay, they are all different provinces, kind of. We go back to his ethnical groups. Russia is not unified again. It's
Right.
Duke, prince, small places, again, ethnic.
So kind of feudal, almost like in Europe, where there was like there's these kings and kingdoms, and they were all fighting against each other.
Yes. And now, but they were all brothers in Russia. They were all like related, But still, they did not want to unify.
Yeah.
And what happened in the Grand Prince of Moscow? His name is Ivan III. Ivan III, or they called him Ivan the Great, or they called him Ivan the Terrible.
Just depends if you were on the winning or the losing side, probably, huh?
So he was Grand Prince of Moscow,
Yeah.
and from 1462 to 1505.
Okay.
So, and he subdued most of the great Russian lands by conquest or by voluntary allegiance of princes,
Okay.
and ended Mongol yoke that lasted 400 years.
Wow.
Finally, Russia again is unified, and also what he did, he laid the administrative foundation of a centralized Russian state.
Okay.
Now Russia become centralized Russian state
Since Ivan the Great.
since Ivan the Great.
Wow.
Now look at the what actually how Russia started to develop the territory of Russia, and you can see that it's like since that time it become bigger, bigger, and bigger, and it becomes bigger not to the south but more to the north,
And the East.
northeast,
Hmm.
right? So that would be northeast,
Yeah.
northeast,
Yeah.
right? And it started to grow more like northeast.
Interesting.
Okay. So, and all these borders, they were just borders with Lithuania, borders with,
They still had a border with Mongolia too, right? And China?
oh yeah, but
Okay, yeah.
Mongolia also became pretty small state.
Okay.
After all that, it becomes smaller and smaller. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they just have borders and more growing into the different direction.
Sure.
So, and then you look at the alphabet, Russian alphabet. That was the first reform of Russian alphabet. And who did that? It was Peter the Great.
Peter the Great.
Peter the Great. He decided that he introduced, they call it civil script in 1710.
Okay.
And now you compare Cyrillic, Glagolitic script, Cyrillic script, and the first that civil script,
Huh.
Russian alphabet, and you can see that now we come closer and closer to what we have now.
Okay.
After that, 1710.
Yeah.
Then what happened to Russia? You can see the map, Russian Empire, 1721 to 1917, how huge it is. And then you can, there were civil Russian font from middle 18th and beginning of 19th centuries. You can compare how that font changed, how the script changed, right?
Huh.
And that script actually existed till long time. And before revolutions, they changed it again a little bit. And after revolutions, they changed it the last time.
Okay.
Okay. And now you can look at the map and see nationalities that lived in USSR after 1917. And all these nationalities living in USSR, they all spoke one language, Russian language.
Right.
So they had their ethnic language, and for them, official language was Russian.
Kind of like here in the United States, you might,
Yes.
English is our main language, but
English
you might
is
speak
our-
Spanish.
Exactly.
Too, or
Exactly.
Chinese, or, I don't know, Navajo, Dene, right?
Yeah.
So, okay.
And now you can see the changing all these scripts into what we have right now. So you can see and would say, wow, that Glagolitic script, what is that? So, and yeah, that's what I prepared for you.
Okay. So they stopped the Glagolitic script and they moved to an
Cyrillic.
updated Cyrillic.
Pretty fast.
Okay.
They even had this thing, what script was the first, Cyrillic or Glagolitic? And then they did the research and come to conclusion that Glagolitic was
It was
the first.
Glagolitic. And they came from, most likely, not Greece, right? Not Macedonia, but Bulgaria, right?
That
Or is that sort of
the letters, they call them round Bulgarian, and then Khazar. So that the letters, the shape of letters.
Yeah.
So, and then there was Greek alphabet taken into that, plus
Yeah.
the other letters, because they did not have the sounds that we have. The letter actually reflects the sound.
Yeah.
They try to kind of like come close to what it is.
Right.
So
Without getting too political, because I don't want to ruffle too many feathers, but we were also talking about Ukraine and Russia's relationship, over the years, and you said something interesting to me. of interest to me that there was a time, before there was no Ukraine originally, right? According to the history,
there was Kiev and
there
Rus.
was Kiev and Rus, right?
Yes, and when was Rus, there was Russia, there was Russian Empire. That's what it was.
And at that time, they were all kind of united, right?
Yes.
But over time, there was this sort of a separation. It was in 1600, I think you said.
Oh no, it was.
I
think that separation. There was. They separated. You mean the first separation that happened?
Yeah.
It was in the middle of 12th century.
Oh, 12th century. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
but
when
it
they
was
started
not
veering.
separation. It was not separation.
Off.
Ukraine and Russia. It was. It was no. It was Kiev and Rus. Kiev and Rus. It was. They kind of subdivided into provinces, and each province had a prince.
Okay.
So, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
So if you want to look at, they had different names.
Right.
Okay?
And there was these people they were starting to like differentiate a little bit, but they still had a common ethnicity and a common language, right?
Of course.
Okay.
And that is with Slovenian language that had a written form nowadays that was used in liturgical books that actually helped people to speak the same language. And I'm sure there were plenty of dialects as any place.
Yeah.
Like people who live in Ukraine, so they say we have different language. Of course they have different language because they are close to Lithuania. Kiev was part of Lithuania.
Right.
There was Poland, Hungary. Of course they have different
language. So
language.
there's that influence from those other cultures, yeah.
Of course.
Right.
They would have different language if,
Yeah, and given enough time, people in isolation will start to develop their own sort of
It's like a pigeon.
vocabulary, yeah.
Right. We are all coming from different places, and now we are all trying to talk, trying to understand each other.
Yeah.
We create that language that from here, like pigeon, right?
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
Interesting. And so how does that history of Russian and Ukrainian language, how does that manifest itself in modern day? Like, do you have large populations of ethnic groups that are kind of still divided in Russia, or are they kind of more mixed? Is it,
I think that it's hard to find a person who lives in Russia who doesn't have anyone ever came from that part that is Ukraine right now. All this migration of people, people migrating all the time, like the same thing with Mongolian invasion that had such a great influence on genetics of other people.
Yeah.
And I think that we are just such a mix.
Right.
So, and like I talk to my friends in Russia and I ask them a question. So you think that it is okay that Ivanov goes against Ivanov? And they look at me and say, what do you mean? I said, well, we have people with the same last names living in those places.
Right.
Okay, and if you look how they look, until they start talk, you can't even understand who they are, But when they start to talk, you can hear the accent, you can hear the dialect.
Right, but before that, they're almost unable to be differentiated, huh? Indistinguishable.
Not even now.
You'll say they look like each other, but they speak different.
They speak different. You take 5 people from Russian Federation, 5 people from Ukraine, 5 people from Belarusia, 5 people from Moldova, and just put them all together, mix them, and ask okay, now tell me who is who. Yeah. Okay.
It's funny. Yeah, I think that I find some humor. I see the humor in that we're all dividing against each other when we're all from common ancestors and family. It's like in the Middle East, it's the same. Like I'm part Iranian, right? And I see people from Iran. I see people from Turkey, from Israel, from Afghanistan, from Saudi Arabia. And if you took a lineup of us and we all eat rice, we all have pretty brown skin. A lot of us have these larger noses, right? And dark and hairy legs and darker hair, and it's like dark eyes. It's like that's just who we are. I mean, as a people that all over the Middle East, you'll find people that look like they could just be brothers, and in fact they are, right? It's like, why are we killing each other? Why are we fighting over all this stupid reasons. You know, so of course, sometimes there are legitimate reasons people go to war, but I think a lot of times there's this selfishness comes in where it divides people who could have otherwise, you know, literally been cousins, right? Like you said.
They are cousins.
They are cousins. Yeah.
So many people who now have relatives in both places, and I am absolutely sure my grandparents on mother's side, they come from Don. They are Donski Kazaki. So, and I would say that I am sure that I have relatives there, just I don't know them.
Yeah.
Because we never communicated. But I am pretty much sure there would be relatives.
Yeah. So I guess so Russia is a melting pot, just like United States is a melting pot, huh?
Oh yeah. And you can see it, how people were moving, how they were migrating, and also there is a map of migration of Slovenian people in all the different centuries, and so
that's cool.
That's what it was.
So if a young person wanted to learn more about you know, what it was like for you growing up in Russia, or what that country is like, and Ukraine as well, where could they go for more information on that? Like, are there books you would recommend, or movies that you're like, oh, this really depicts what it was like? And did you also grow up under communism?
In socialism,
Yeah,
there
socialism.
was no communism.
Oh yeah,
We were building it.
Socialism, okay.
Never built.
Us Americans, sometimes we compare the same, so I'm a little ignorant in that. So socialism, you grew up under socialism.
Socialistic country, USSR, you know.
Right.
Yes.
So what is there any films that you're like, oh man, this one depicts what it was like for us, or stories? Because I know there's all this fear of misinformation out there, and people are trying to just find truth. But like, you know, if they wanted to go educate themselves on what it was really like.
Well, there are many opinions. There are movies. They just have to watch them all.
Watch them all.
read many books.
Read many sources.
You know what I say about history?
Yeah.
History is me. I lived in that country. I grew up in that country. I know. I was a witness. History is me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very powerful statement.
And I don't know about the other people, what they experienced. They show what do they show? Do they show what they experienced? Do they show what kind of angle? From what angle do they show that?
Right.
Do they want me to believe how great the country was or how bad the country was? What is the purpose?
Yeah.
You
Everyone has their own agenda, right?
Yes.
So you kind of have to always view things through a skeptical eye.
Exactly. Yes.
Even us, like you can't just trust us. Don't trust her just because she said it, right? Go look it up. Don't trust me, because we have our own biases and prejudices too, right? As much as we try to not do that. So I think that's good advice. Yeah, people who are seeking truth, who want to know what actually happened in their country as well as other countries, it's like they just have to go out there and find it, right?
They have to compare. They have to do their own research.
Yeah.
They have to, first of all, they have to learn Russian language.
Sure.
For the beginning.
Right, because then you can read
sources
read
from
the
original language. You would not read something that is translated by someone who wanted to do something that was, I don't know, what was it?
What's their motive? Sometimes they have an ulterior motive. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if you learn Russian language, you have definitely the great source, classical books. Even right now, I would start with classical books.
Right.
I would start with something what is even translated into English language. You know, like Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment, Turgenev, Fathers and Sons. I would start with something that is classic, because it shows the history of the country back to that time.
Right.
It shows a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That I would say the classical books would be your best source.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
It was the perspective of the writer who wrote them, but that writer, they reflected the condition of the country.
Yeah.
Okay? So, and I think that's where you have to start.
That's great.
Not something that, someone interpreted for you,
Yeah.
but just read what is translated.
Right.
What is translated.
Yeah.
That's the thing that we do with my husband. He likes to listen. I like to read aloud, and I read aloud some books, and he listens.
Yeah.
And then we discuss.
Right. But critical thinking isn't a skill that comes easy, is it? Like, I think in America, at least for myself, I'll speak for myself, there's this culture of convenience, right? And it's like, I want to just be able to roll up to this fast food restaurant and walk out with some tacos and not have to worry about how the tacos were made, where they came from, even if they're good for me. I just want to eat them and get on to the next thing, right?
Yeah.
I think we treat education like that a lot of times too. And it doesn't just come to you, right? If you really want to know what happened, right, you have to go work for it, don't you?
Yes, exactly. If you it's like food in the box, You come to the store and there are so many things you can pick up. Potatoes, all these different kind of vegetables,
Yeah.
right? That is lettuce. This is this is that, and you go. Oh wow. Okay, what can I make? And then you think, what can you make? And then you come to that special department of box food,
Oh,
and you
no.
think,
Please don't go there.
just make life easier. Just
Yeah.
box food.
It's convenient.
It's convenient,
All
exactly.
this poisonous
It's
crap.
convenient.
It's convenient to eat. Yeah.
But when you really want to know the truth, you have to go to classics
Yeah.
in anything,
That's great advice.
really anything.
And before we finish up, I wanted to share one memory with you. So our mutual friend, Andrei, he passed away a few years ago. But he had a really wonderful story about how his brother grew up in Russia as an artist, and to feed his spirit, because there was no physical food, he would draw.
Yes.
Isn't that right? And it was Andrei's older brother, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. And he would draw with just a scrap of paper and a piece of charcoal, right? And through that, he was able to create a career for himself, because his drawing was discovered by Indira Gandhi, right? When she came and visited.
Indira Gandhi was no. Indira Gandhi was another artist who they were friends.
Okay.
So they were friends.
Yeah. I thought, if I remembered it right, he had drawn this drawing, and then she had seen it. It was a drawing of her. Is that right?
But it was not him. It was a friend. It was the
Oh, a
other
friend of
artist.
his.
It was a friend of
I
his.
see. Okay.
Yeah.
But these were just like street urchins, right? Like very poor kids that didn't come. They didn't have a lot.
Yes.
But
They were growing up together, and
Yeah.
also they actually survived siege.
right.
That was another way how you can survive. You just don't think about food, I guess.
Yeah.
Do something. I mean, it's difficult to not to think about food, but Jesus showed to us that it's possible. I mean, it was 40 days, right?
Yeah. 40 days fasting.
So, but even if we have so many facts about people who survived without food, even for a short period of time,
Yeah.
because they did not think about food. They were thinking about spiritual things, and one of them was drawing.
Yeah. That's cool. And drawing was always a nice escape for me too. I remember in school, in Turkish school, I hated it because I didn't know anybody. I didn't speak the language, and drawing was a place I could go to just forget about my circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow. So maybe you can binge some classics, guys. Maybe you need to go out there and find a book about Russian history or American history and go see for yourself what actually happened. Don't just take everything for granted that the teachers teach you or that we YouTube people tell you. You can't believe what you just hear, right? You got to go find it for yourself.
Yes, because it's just a perspective.
Yeah.
It's my perspective. It's one friend of mine. They live in the United States many years, much longer than me, and they said to me, "Everyone has its own America."
True.
Okay,
True.
so that's the thing. Everyone has its own America. Everyone has its own Russia. Everyone has its own whatever.
Yeah.
It's just a perspective. But as a witness, I can say things what
Right.
I witnessed.
Speaking about what you've witnessed, my final question is what I ask everybody. What role has God played in your life?
Well, it changed my life.
Yeah.
God changed my life, I would say. And I think that the closest how you can come to truth is through the Bible. Not only through your, first of all, you have to believe in God as the power, as the source that you don't understand, you do not see, but it's there. That's the first thing. And second thing is to start to read the Bible and go from there.
Yeah.
And ask God all the time to open your eyes, to open your ears,
Yeah.
that you will see and you will hear what it is, not what your imagination tells you.
Right. Yeah, because our perception can sometimes be skewed, right?
Again, perception is based on many factors.
Yeah.
You can be in a bad mood. That would be one perception.
Sure.
You could be in a good mood. That would be a different perception. You could be joyful. You
Yeah.
could be sad.
Yeah.
And you would say, it's like, you remember that thing, that parable when Jesus was going to one city and half of the people told him, don't go there.
Okay.
These people don't like you. They don't want you there. They're evil. Don't even lose their time on them.
Yeah.
And the other half of people said, go there.
I don't
They're
remember this story, but that's
waiting.
good.
They're
Keep going.
waiting
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
They're waiting for you. They want you there. They want to hear what you would say.
Yeah.
So that was the perspective.
What did Jesus do? Did he go?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Was it Samaria?
I think
Yeah,
so.
the Samaritans maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So
But yeah, that's funny. And you mentioning mood too, that reminds me of the when you get a text from somebody and it's like we need to talk, period. Well, what's that mean? It's like psycholinguistics. It really depends on the mood they were in and the mood you were in when you get that message, right?
exactly.
It could mean we need to talk because I can't wait to talk to you. And I miss you very much and I love you. And it could be we need to talk. I'm going to put a bullet in your head, right? And it's like
You need to talk.
the way,
Right.
the way, yeah, the time and the place and the attitude in which a message is sent can mean a completely different thing, right? So we do have to do our research. We can't just always take stuff at face value. Have to look a little deeper, huh?
Right. And what I want to say that they all the time rewrite history. So I would not believe historical books. As I said, I would extract what was in that country
From the classics.
from the classics,
Wow.
from the authors, like Dickens.
Yeah.
Okay,
Charles Dickens. Yeah.
okay, that's your perspective. What was going on in the country?
Right.
Every writer, every classic writer, they were describing the situation.
Right.
And through them, you can get pretty much good understanding. And then you reading historical books, you can compare,
Yeah. Find the truth.
find the truth.
Well, yeah, we hope we wish you well on your quest for truth as you triangulate between historical sources, the classics, maybe the Bible as well. And yeah, we look forward to getting to see you on our next episode. But until then, thank you for listening to the OJ podcast. And thank you, Irina Koroleva.
You're very welcome. It was very nice talking to you, Daniel.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Great.